sucks, but it is what it is. So yeah.
That's how I have many relatives that have always bringing back something
I
back
know,
home.
man. Yeah, dude. It's so frustrating. But hey, it's you deal with it, and we're monitoring it with all the medications and everything, so it is what it is. But anyway, um the um yeah, so we got a ton of things to cover from last week and this week in
Lots to
regards
cover.
to everything that's happened. Um man, they just do not don't relent. I guess we could go through um just like chronologically what we were talking about. Because there is like a lot of news. Um I guess so
Uh,
this is
one second,
before.
Corey. Use the stream link.
Oh
Uh,
yes, thank you.
yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Greg. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good, man. Um yeah, I mean, so this is all the way back on February 6th. Like the federal vaccine advisors take aim at the COVID shots. So again, they are again going at these the mRNA technologies in a couple of different ways actually. So it's like they're not only going after the COVID shots in regards to the mRNA based COVID vaccines, but then they're also coming after it with the flu shot that just came out today. So it actually kind of like ties in. Um, so it's just wild to me. They just refuse to accept that these mRNA based lipid nanoparticles can actually give a product that's like legit and that's good. I don't understand it.
Yeah, uh, and they are running the clinical trials that like FDA seems to want, and based off of some articles that I read, like backtracking or
Can
Mhm.
we maybe back up a bit for people who may not, be in the know here?
absolutely.
Um, yeah, yeah. So, uh, what was this about the flu shots? You said something about the flu shot today.
Um, so basically the FDA is refusing to um they refuse to look at data that would show that the mRNA technology could be used for flu. And there was
Mm.
basically a Moderna trial that they had data for that would show that um the mRNA based flu shots were actually way better, but they refused to show that info, and they refused to consider it. So even though it was like a 24 percent increase or something pretty drastic, but
Mm.
they refused to do it. It's crazy.
So, an increase in efficaciousness?
Yes, yes, exactly. So like basically um, because of how the incubation period is on the flu, it basically is you can only decrease the severity. You're never going to have
Mm.
like an immunizing vaccine on something like that, and basically that's all you're looking for. And yeah, they denied even looking at the data. It's like
Mm.
it's just wild.
Yeah, and if I can maybe expand touch like much exactly as said, but Derna has running the trials, the evidence for the efficacy. And like I think going back to like 20 article, basically in conjunction or in with collaboration with the Derna was running these trials according to like agreed upon like guidelines wanted, as in like this should be your experimental arm and this is control arm, and like on your file. Like Derna done it, but then now fast forward now to May 2026. Well, Okay, and like now it's no longer basically the trial that was approved by the FDA is now no longer approved by management or a specific person more or less at the top fucking it, and they
Mhm.
were pretty noted anti-vaxxer. Well, still well pretty staunch COVID. I was skeptical, and they're
Mm.
an actual.
Yeah, they were there. It's just, obviously during um, the pandemic, in order to, get things expedited, it was approved with an emergency youth use authorization, and and that was their big sticking point for the longest time. Oh, this is a new technology. It's not FDA approved fully. We're gonna once it is fully approved, then we'll be on board with it. Now, obviously, it has the full FDA approval, and now it's just like this same sticking point. Obviously, these people were in good faith, actually trying to critique that was their big sticking point. The technology. They were just being, vaccine hesitant, and now it just shows that it's like it's not just the COVID vaccine, it's anything with this technology. And this technology isn't just for vaccine, guys. This is the next generation and how we deliver nucleotides into a body. So it's like they're trying to ban in a ton of bills at the state level. They're trying to ban this stuff. They're trying to ban gene therapies, mRNA based gene therapy. So if you're in one of these states and get cancer, you're basically not going to have access to the best and current medical technology. It's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, what's made I think well in my mind even worse. Of democracy never satisfied. There, uh, RFK Jr. My opinion.
Mhm.
Um, and like one of his talking points, like no, there has never been like a controlled, randomized trial for, and he, even though not true, but then he also testifies like, well, as in emphasizes that the trials have to be run correctly, as actually approve these vaccines, like once the trials up to standard that he specifies, actually like using a placebo says that vaccines are never tested against. That's also not. Um, but FDA itself not even recommending that trial design, as in like they had a specific trial design in mind, and even now today, like under the new administration, not recommend in this instance. Oh, Moderna has to test their flu vaccine against a placebo. Happen to want something. Even even the FDA now is not actually following RFK responses.
And they're trying to remove the controls and the human, I mean, sorry, the animal models in order to actually like make human testing safer too. I mean, it's just, yeah, there's so many different levels of this stuff. It's just it's really um it really blows my mind. I mean, they're not in good faith actually like trying to make these vaccines better. It's just that they are. That's, I mean, why they're so steadfast against it, I genuinely don't know. I think it's just kind of like um, I don't know, like a Luddite, like anti-technology, or I don't know.
Uh, I
Don't know.
mean, like by this time they've built up a whole mythology around them, right? Like, I was just so I on YouTube I subscribe to a few right wing channels, and like it's useful even if you don't click on them, like just to see like what they're trying to scare people
Being
with.
pushed to them.
Yeah, yeah, and the thumbnails and stuff, right? Like, what do they think will attract viewers? And one of them today was like, there was like, DNA within the vaccines, like they have their set talking points, doesn't matter if it's true or not. And like by now they built up such a uh such a tidal wave of misinformation, and like they have so much buy-in from their audience that, like, well, of course, I don't see from his perspective how RFK could even consider any of this, right? Like, he can't have it be the case that, like officially recognize the FDA understands that this vaccine, this Moderna uh, mRNA, excuse me, vaccine, um, uh, is more efficacious. Like, it can't be. It has to harm them, right? So you either, if they can't like outright refute it, right? Well, then the next best option is to not consider it in the first place. So, like, all this makes sense to me. Like, from their perspective, from their like diluted perspective, this makes sense to me. Of course, they would do this, and because the backlash, Trump doesn't care about this, but the
I agree.
backlash to the Maha, um, or from the Maha base, would be huge if he didn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're right that like pretty much like no matter what, even if I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine even if they backtrack of like, oh, now they now come to their senses of like, oh, actually, evidence does clearly show they're actually effective, and I would imagine if that actually happened, like that would be seen as a betrayal, and I think
Hmm.
I'd imagine the talking point would be like, oh, the deep state actually got to these people.
Hmm.
Now further deep action can't win, dug in, that any change of position, like, well, yeah, that's the deep.
Hmm. Yeah, man.
But
I,
a small, sorry to interrupt, but a small glimmer of hope, maybe, uh, based off of two articles I think today, like there may be a little bit of a walk back, or let's say FDA Commissioner Mark Macri, yeah, not do a full walk back, but be a bit more tempered in the response, and they actually, it's the like one specific that was the was part of the FDA, but now
mhm.
the FDA Commissioner, basically, like there's maybe not infighting, but uh, might still be some hope in the.
Are you talking about in regards to the measles vaccine?
No, in regards to this flu vaccine,
Oh, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah.
where
Um,
they may be open, or at least based off of the comments from the actual FDA party, Macri, uh, open to actually seeing the.
hmm, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I mean, dude, at this point, it's like I feel like you just take what you can get. I mean, like genuinely. I mean, like the whole walk back on the measles vaccine. I mean, that's just been wild. I mean, 6 months ago, RFK was asked like, "What is your, what are you gonna, how do you deal with this Texas outbreak?" And he was like, "No, the MMR vaccine actually is effective against measles." So it's like even he's like he said that then, and then pushed a bunch of rampant anti-vaccine stuff obviously since then, but then now you have like Dr. Oz saying like being asked like what do you do in regards to this measles outbreak, and he's like we have the technology, we have it already. It's like the measles vaccine is very safe and effective towards this stuff. So it's like at some point like they have to like the disease is spreading. Like I don't understand how else they're going to deal with it other than I mean when I talk to anti-vaxxers on my show, it's like, oh, you just like you take garlic or something, and I'm like, what, like what, like, and they're like, oh yeah, and you don't have to do anything, everyone just needs to like make sure they're eating healthy and they have garlic or something, and you're like what are you talking about, like, so uh, I, I think like I still think that this is actually how there's going to be a tidal wave that shifts on this. Like enough people are going to be impacted. I mean, measles is very, very strong. It's the most infectious disease that we understand. The R naught is the highest of measles than any other virus that we know of. So it's like it's going to spread very quickly. And there's a lot of states that are not um, that don't have herd immunity. It's shocking. It's actually very shocking how many. You're going to get people that are like, how do I fix this? And the only thing they're going to have to do is say the vaccine. I mean, that's it. That's all they have to do.
And it seems like, uh, based off of what you said, and also I've heard numerous times, is like, again, they're satisfying these people. Like their solution to every disease and condition is just
Yes.
healthy.
Unironically, it's like the Republican idea of how do we do anything like cut taxes for billionaires. It's like literally the exact same playbook where it's just like, how do you increase school graduation rates? Like, oh, tax cuts for billionaires. Like, how do you, it's the same way, man.
Yeah, but then if someone actually succumbs to the by default, well, earned health, right? So
Mhm.
they win either way. Of like to prevent it or to overcome it, healthy. Didn't overcome it. Yeah.
I mean, so like I have this figure that I use on my show, and it's like, yeah, it's the current CDC website. The measles and cases and outbreaks. It's actually, I should update it. It's about a month old. There's only 8 states in the union that actually have herd immunity.
Which I think for measles it requires like 95.
Yeah, 95%. And if you think about like, MAGA is 20% of the country, and if 30% of them are vaccine hesitant, then that's enough in order to break a state from herd immunity, then in and of itself. And you have like states, like really populous states like Florida, Texas, like, they're not like Wyoming, the Dakotas, if that, I mean, it sucks if they were, obviously it wouldn't be okay, but like the population density is enough to make it spread. But again, like, I mean, you have these problems. You have real diseases that are caused by these things.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why they don't seem to care as much, variety of reasons. Like, as unfortunate as it is, I think there have been at least 1 or 2 deaths
Of measles?
yeah, of measles.
Yeah, there've been more. There've been more than 1 or 2. Yeah, there've been a
Oh,
few.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
I imagine still like in the single digits.
Who?
I'm not sure.
For number of
Cases-
yeah, for number of deaths. Number of
Oh
deaths.
yeah. It's like well, the thing is like it's secondary infections that and they're like thousands of cases, but yeah, I think it's like single digits. I think you're right.
Which I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I think that's one of the but that's one of the issues. Like, I don't know for sure how it's reported on the CDC website. I can't remember exactly, but I don't think they unfortunately they don't track, or it's more difficult to track of like your outcomes, like cases and deaths. And since and people just think, well, if the cases you recover and it's 100% recovery, and like that's not, like there's so many more outcomes or negative outcomes than deaths, right? As in if you can actually parse that data of like number of cases, X number of people requiring hospitalizations, X number of people with potentially like long-term other sort of negative outcomes, and maybe people, but I think since they just see like that low death count number, I mean we saw this with COVID of like, oh, it's just the emphasis on the mortality rate or the case fatality rate. Since the case fatality rate is like lower, that's the only thing that matters when it comes to like COVID, ignoring all the other stuff, all the other negative outcomes.
Yeah, the cases. So 3 people have died, but the problem is like people don't die of measles as the primary infection of measles. What happens is that because measles attacks the T's and B cells, your immune system gets taken out. So what happens is that it's called a secondary infection. So basically your body loses its ability to fight basic bacteria infections, that kind of stuff. So what happens is that you have your esophagus is right there, your throat, and you have basically an invasion of your throat into your lungs, and normally your body would be able to take that out with the T's and B cells, with different types of responses to these type of infections, and you just can't. So this is a way that a lot of people have been downplaying the people that have died, and like it's just kind of like a way. But my point is that we could see a lot more people dying of flu this year, for example, and because of the measles cases, for example.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it, but
Yeah.
that's one of the disconnects of like since they can't actually connect it, or they don't see it in data that's presented there. Like I'm like, well, yes, uh, ignoring everything that you, or like not taking into account, because I agree with you. You're terrific. Doesn't get lumped uh, in the measles.
Yeah. Yeah, they downplayed the Texas deaths because of it. Man, that's crazy. Wow, looking at the 2026 data. So I went to the CDC website, and it's crazy. This South Carolina outbreak I've been covering since there was 10 on my channel. Like we would just there's a really nice epidemiologist that did this great work on public health and stuff, and we were like the YouTube channel. You just watch that, and it's like 600 cases just in South Carolina now. Um, it's wild. That Texas has stopped. That Texas last year had 800, but now they also stopped covering it though. That was a wild thing. So they were like, the Texas epidemiological report was like, we stopped covering it when there's no new cases, and then I looked at the actual report, and it was like 800. And then I looked at the press release saying that they stopped because there's no new cases, and it was at the 750. And I'm like, well, wait, there's 50 more cases here. It's like what are you talking about? Even in your own data. Yeah, it's horrific, and it's a lot of like kids. So the U.S. cases for 2025. So 2025, all the total cases are 2,280. But then 2026, we've already had 910.
Yeah,
So
and month and a half or 6.
exactly, in 94% are unvaccinated. 94%. So it's like
But then, and that's where, fortunately, anti-vaxxers focus on of like, oh, you're getting cases vaccinated, therefore, vaccine is totally ineffective.
yeah. Yeah, 2% have the 1 MMR dose, so that's like people older than like 35, and then 2 doses is 3%, which is actually kind of surprising. But basically, the 2-dose regimen started happening because of the 1989 to 1992 the measles epidemic in the United States, and they increased the amount of shots, and it went right back down. So basically, it was like an access to medical services problem, and the Reagan administration kind of ushered in, and then once they increased it, it went away. So
Yeah, we have robust data.
yeah.
Resonate. But I'm
So
curious, like what the criteria is. Canada lost its status of happened for the United States status.
it's within a year, so you have to have no new cases for a year, and yeah, we have definitely. I mean, I have to have lost it. There's no way, because there's tons of new cases last year and then this year. So, someone asked in chat, what was the herd immunity states? California, Mississippi, Alabama. Mississippi has 97.6. Alabama has 95.2. Virginia 95.6. Maryland 96.4. New York is 97.8. Connecticut 98.2. Rhode Island 96.7. Massachusetts 96.6. And Maine 97.6.
So, for what I understand, Alabama and Mississippi are like deep red states,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's actually really interesting to me. I don't I'm sure that they have I'm actually really curious about that. Like, what is the Mississippi and Alabama? Because Mississippi doesn't have let's just check that. Mississippi vaccine requirements.
Is it? I You can keep looking that up, but uh, how useful is it to know a state's immunity rates rather than your local immunity rates, right? Like, because in New York, yes, New York has a high rate of herd immunity, but then you go into the Orthodox Jewish territory and that like drops like a rock, um and I'm sure I don't mean to pick on the Orthodox Jewish community, but there are other communities similar to that, like little enclaves,
Mhm.
um, where that also drops. So it's like, well, yes, it's true overall, but if you happen to live near these enclaves, then like you're out of luck, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
That that
say
is
sort of. Yeah.
I mean, you saw that on Ontario, the epidemiological, report showed that, where it's like the main, city there had a really good vaccine rate, but then all the cases came from the suburban, like, slash rural, areas around it, so it can definitely have a huge impact.
But then hopefully, I'm definitely not a health expert. I imagine, as you said, you have these enclaves, but if there's enough surrounding people vaccinated in the community, I would imagine that infection is largely isolated at like or much greater chance that it's isolated there. Not that that's a good thing. Basically, have minimal community spread. If have like just uh little tiny epicenter.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just checked it out. So Mississippi, this is from an article from January 2025. Mississippi no longer has the highest rate of childhood vaccinations in the country, falling um, in 2023 after a federal judge ruled that the state must allow religious exemptions for childhood vaccinations. So that's basically how these people don't get vaccinated with their school, right? It's like it's personal or religious exemptions that they all have. They all have like mandatory vaccines, but then they say like, oh, personal or religious exemption, which obviously neither of those make any sense because there's nothing in the Bible about vaccines. So it doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. Alabama, um, yeah, I don't know about Alabama, but that was Mississippi. So that's amazing that they were so strong, and they were at 99% vaccinations because of that. 99, they were leading the entire country because of that.
That's impressive and good for them. But then, if I'm understanding, which if I heard you correctly, like uh, at that vaccine mandate get into school, that's like on now.
Well, it's a really easy slipstream. Y'all, like all you have to do is say, "Yeah, I have a personal exemption,"
Right,
and
as
you're
in they've carved out of like not it's not a pure mandate. Like you have the ability to get the exceptions.
yeah,
Go to their doctor, get a note saying I need a therapy animal.
yeah, yeah. It's very lax, very very like easy to get, and yeah, it's crazy. Um, okay, so then the religious exemption in Alabama, they make it so that parents must obtain a certificate of religious exemption from their local county health department. And then Alabama does not recognize philosophical or moral exemptions. So there you go. I mean, it's people standing up for public health. I mean, this is what it is. Like making these things matter. Like it matters. I had one guy come in here. He was so mad at me that I didn't recognize like religious exemptions for vaccines, and he was like, that's it's a consent issue, yada yada yada. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like it's not how it's not how it goes. That doesn't make any sense. That's so that's crazy. I didn't even know that Mississippi is so strong on that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that shows that like it can be effective and like as far as I know, there's no outbreaks in Mississippi or Alabama.
Um, let's see. Let's see the active cases. Yeah, I don't. Not that I saw, man. It was they were doing really good. Like, I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it's a self-imposed wound, man. Like these things, the vaccine is so effective, and why it's so effective is because kind of like how it's the opposite of what we were talking about with the flu. So the flu gets into your system, and the viral load exponentially increases really quickly. And basically that doesn't allow your immune system to mount a defense fast enough. So basically, that's why your vaccines with the flu and SARS-CoV-2 and stuff basically decrease the severity. They don't make you immune to the virus. Versus measles, the inoculation time is a lot longer. So what happens is that you have the capability of your body to mount a response in time, and that's why the measles it's so strong. I think, man, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 10 days or something. It's like that's why these people have to quarantine for like a month. I mean, it's like mandatory quarantine, because it could be really bad. Yeah, dude, Alabama and Mississippi have 0 cases right now. Georgia has 1. North Carolina has 15. Man, these enclaves of like, dude, I'm way to go, Mississippi and Alabama, man.
Yeah,
Genuinely, don't
absolutely.
say that
Credit
enough.
given where it's due. Like that
Yeah.
deserves credit to get it in the 95, 99% range, and but also shows that oh, laws on the books or actual mandate was effective.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And then as soon as it yeah, yeah, exactly. That judge, man. What with that judge, what were they thinking? That's just wild to me. That is so crazy. Hey, it matters, man. Stuff matters.
And well, as maybe a point of optimism, it shows that like can actually change it, as it, like uh, have the data that shows that mandates actually are effective, and so maybe implement. And that holds true up here in Canada.
Mhm. Well, here we go. So I guess in the next story, this is from February 13th. Kennedy allies target states to overturn vaccine mandates for school children. So there, there you go. Longtime allies of RFK have launched a new effort to repeal laws that for decades have required children to have that to be vaccinated against measles, polio, and other diseases before they enter daycare or kindergarten. Great.
Yeah,
Um,
and polio of all things, like and obviously measles is bad.
I, it's anathema. I mean, like how could you like like if someone was like advocating for broken arms, you'd be like, "What?" Like, but it's like it's to be even worse and more dangerous, and people are okay with it. I mean, this is so that we've seen this in our own tracking of this. So the 423 bills that we tried to stop, hundreds of which did die. Um, and it looks like this New York Times article is basically talking about it, and it has come onto our radar. Um, that there are a lot of MAHA bills that basically the new sessions are in now, and they are in session, and they're trying to pass this stuff before the elections in November. So,
Hopefully, the
Um,
states can back.
mhm,
yeah. Oh, you said like what would be like? It'd be weird if someone was advocating for a broken arm.
mhm,
Well, yes, weird to us right now, but like people advocate for like cutting the tips off babies' penises,
True.
right? Like this is a thing that we do. And we like respect these things on, quote unquote religious ground. When you asked about it, or when you brought up, justification, I actually looked up um, why Jehovah Witnesses refuse blood transfusions.
mhm.
I mean, I knew it was in the Bible, something, something in the Bible, but I actually didn't know like where.
I
And
believe
there's like
it's
a few passages.
soul, or they believe soul is gained in. I believe something to that effect.
Genesis 9 through 3 and 4 says, after the flood, God told Noah that he could eat animal flesh, but explicitly stated, quote, only flesh with its soul, its blood you must not eat. Leviticus says that Mosaic law stated that anyone who partook of blood would be quote unquote cut off. It teaches that the soul of every sort of flesh is its blood and belongs to God. And Acts 15, it says a decree from the early Christian apostolic the Apostle Council commanded Christians to quote keep abstaining from blood. So, like, yes, these are the reasons why, and we tend to respect these reasons. There was a show that I used to freaking love so much years ago. Anyway, it touched on exactly this. A character. It was actually really good. It was actually really interesting because there was a character who what like a main character who had been incapacitated and like hurt badly and needed a blood transfusion. Now it was known this person was a Jehovah Witnesses witness, but it wasn't known like how much like how faithful they were, right?
Mhm.
Their mother like refused to let her daughter the woman was a woman her daughter had the transfusion, saying, well, of course she wouldn't like she would hate for this to be the case. Absolutely not. But her boss, her employer, who was also a friend, said like like this woman has never like talked about her religion, never advocated for it, never done anything like that. She didn't actually really believe, and the clock was ticking, and it was like a law show, right? So like they went to court and did a whole thing, and in the end, she actually got the transfusion, and it was great because they didn't actually like reveal like how she felt about it, one or the other. So like left the audience guessing. Great show. But in any case, right? I tell you all this to ask the question, right? How much should we care about these things, about other people's religious rights to abstain? Like, for instance, if we replace, an unconscious woman with like a child, right? A child of a Jehovah Witness, is presented and this person has significant blood loss for some reason or another, right? If they don't get the blood, they're going to die. Parent says, well, of course not. That's my child. Like, that would be a sin against God. Should that be respected?
Yeah, or I say yeah. In terms of that's a good question. Where a number of years ago, I was taking a bioethics class. Like, I believe in Canada there was like I think there was like that exact case. That tried child of a Jehovah's Witness that tried a blood. Be misremembering because
Mhm.
and like yeah, I believe there was like a whole legal dispute, and it was eventually like settled like the child must receive. I'm going to describe in that case like that situation. Set off something on my brain of like I covered this, I believe it, and so I if what I described was accurate, like child forced or let's say equal judgment was like this child should receive life.
Mm. Dr. Greg?
Uh, I don't know. There should be, it's criminal neglect, I think, if you're using religion in order to justify and deny medical care. I think that people should be held liable in court because of it. So I just that you're creating undue stress and harm on them that can be managed, and we have technology in order to prevent. And we don't allow this in a lot of different other ways too, like people that are um, religious that neglect their children for whatever ways they think that their god is telling them that they don't need to feed them, or they're vegan and they don't believe in breast milk or whatever it is. Like there's tons of different like criminal neglect cases with
That's a new one for me. Don't believe in breast milk?
yeah, there are people that are
I
yeah
don't
that
speak for all vegans, but like I haven't heard that talking point. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm sure those vegans exist out
I'm
there.
sure there must, I guess, but like I've never I've never heard that one. But
it
yeah,
is
go ahead.
yeah well the thing is that a lot of people can't pump immediately. So what happens is like when your baby, your milk doesn't drop at the same time that you have a baby, your first baby. So
Mm.
you have to supplement with like formula. You know, that's like that you have to do that. So if you don't do that, then and that child dies. I mean, that's criminal neglect. You know, so
Mm.
but having a formula that is ethically sourced or whatever to those people's philosophy is probably proved too bad for them, so they were giving them like soy milk or something. I think that was what it was. um but yeah, it's I don't agree with it. Basically the rights should be with public health, and the freedom that you get from public health is what we should focus on. Like individuals that are kind of like um trying to ruin it for the rest of us. I see it as it's they're not the personal freedom comes from the existence of public health, not these people that are trying to ruin it for everyone else. Does that
I
But
make
go ahead.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want
Go
to
ahead.
quickly. Well, actually, I did find one of the cases. Actually, there's apparently there've been multiple cases. I linked one of them. But like, oh, I'll just read it. Sentences. Jehovah's Witness, 14, order to receive blood transfusion beliefs. University Health Center has been authorized to perform blood transfusion. Girl with cancer, despite her refusal. Lastly, in a issued early this month, back in 2017, Superior Court Justice concluded that it is lawful to protect a child, sometimes even against their decision, fatal or
Mhm. That makes sense.
Ooh,
Because
well,
someone's not in their right mind. Like, what if there's someone like legitimately not in their right mind, and they have, it's you have to like, I feel like you have to step in.
okay, hold on. That gets now that's a bit more dicey than I hadn't even considered that scenario where the child actively refuses. And like, so you have a female, right?
Mhm,
She needs the transfusion to live, and she is refusing treatment. Right now, we're forcing her to get that treatment. We're saying that like you're not, quote unquote, not in your right mind. Okay, well, let's just twist this example slightly.
mhm,
She needs an abortion. And well, one, you could do this both ways. You could either that she has a baby and she doesn't want to get an abortion, even though she's going to die, right? Should we then abort the baby beyond her wishes? Like even let's say both the child and her will die if she doesn't get the abortion, but she refuses on religious ground. Should we force her to? Or the other way, that she wants the abortion to happen, but because she's at some sort of religious hospital or whatever, they refuse and they say, well, clearly she's not in her right mind. Are either of those scenarios good?
yeah, that's
mhm.
a good
Abortion
question. Yeah, go
care.
ahead, Greg.
Abortion is medical care, and in a lot of scenarios, it is the number one way in order to save the life of the mother. So it's like it's not abortion is just the term for terminating that pregnancy. But if it's not viable for life, and someone could be out of their like maybe they are they this happens actually, like people are dismayed that their pregnancy that they are pregnant, or that it went bad, or that the baby was born without kidneys or something like that, so it's not viable with life, and they can't believe that this has happened, and it's like and it does happen. like the baby is not viable with life. It's just that's just what
Well, hold on.
it is.
But there are such situations where it is viable, but like there's some other extenuating circumstances where like an abortion is necessary to keep the woman alive, right? Like there's a whole list of ways this could happen. But
But
in any
that's
case, right?
those scenarios, the baby is not viable like for life. That's kind of like how those things come out because if the baby like if the baby can be given um have a birth that's happened, like they have it that way. The abortion in order to save the mother's life is when the baby can't come out the birth canal, and like that it's actually more of a dangerous scenario to give birth than it is to have the abortion.
Okay. Well,
That's
in any case, even whether it's viable or not, right? The point is that, um, all right, we'll start with one scenario and then we'll go to the other. Um, uh, she refuses to have an abortion on a religious ground. We're saying that we must, um, we should go over her head and say like, you got to have this abortion.
I think that yeah, yeah. I think like yeah, if they don't understand it and they're like, no, I'm going to have this baby normally, then and you're like,
No,
well,
they do understand it. They're saying like I understand the circumstances, but like I like that's against my religion, my body, my choice, and I would like to continue on this pregnancy, even though it puts my life in danger.
but in this case, it's only impacting their life. So that's the difference is that like their life, it's like okay, you're choosing to die now because you are refusing medical care, and that is
Mhm.
something that you can do, which is fine. That everyone
Okay,
has the right
so
to
why not blood? Same
care
thing
that.
with the blood transfusion, right? Blood transfusion. They're deciding to die, right? Shouldn't we respect their decision then, even if it's because they're a Jehovah's Witness or not?
It's if they're a child or not. I think that is the big thing. If you're a child, then I think that that the state has a choice to, like in
Well,
order.
point of clarification, and here's where there might be differences in the United States and Canada, and it also might vary provincially. I haven't actually checked laws, but what I can say with a fair amount of confidence, and just even based off my own personal experience, of like you're allowed to make your own medical decisions at the age of 14.
Mhm.
And so it's like, well, but then it's like, and like Prime is bringing up a good point in terms of like, well, yeah, if they're a child and they're like, if they can't consent, then like, why are we empowering them at this age to make medical decisions, right?
Mhm.
I think that's one of the questions that we'd have to maybe grapple with.
Yeah, one of the questions. Yeah, and you're saying okay, they're a child, and so we can go over their heads. So we should be able to go over our heads with the blood transfusion. You saying like you gave me um two different outcomes, right? You said, for one, we can they can choose in terms of like the pregnancy, but then for the blood transfusion, they can't choose. Like, why would it be different for an abortion or a blood transfusion? They're both medical procedures, right?
I'm assuming that it was the abortions someone that's like of age of that's
Well,
over.
no. I mean, no. Unfortunately, young girls have to deal with
Okay.
abortions too, right? So yeah,
Okay.
both of these are for young girls, 14.
Um, I mean, I think that like one, I mean, I think like what happens in these scenarios is like like the there's lawyers and ethics boards and stuff involved, which is a little bit bigger than just me like making decisions. Probably better,
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
not
think
saying this is easy. I'm
in
just like
general,
trying to explore your yeah.
in general, yes, I think that people like that are under 18 that are making the one that is going to negatively impact the rest of their lives and they don't understand the consequences of their actions, then yeah, I do agree that we should force it on them.
Sure. Okay. But um, uh, the ethics board that you're thinking of is a liberal one, right? And they're like, yeah, you don't understand that you're going to die, and so we're going to force this abortion on you. Okay, now let's put a conservative ethics board
Yeah.
here, right? And they say, hey, I know you want an abortion, but you don't understand the psychological ramifications. This abortion will give it, let's say it's a healthy pregnancy or whatever, right? And she wants to, cancel it, right? Cancel it. It's weird. But abort the president. Sorry, I didn't mean
Just
like
press
that.
the cancel button and it all works
Yeah,
out.
press the cancel button. Just keep pressing it. Eventually, it will spawn. I'm sorry, but like she wants to have an abortion, and this conservative ethics board says, well, you don't understand the consequences of your actions. Like how it's going to affect you for us, like you're going to be psychologically damaged or whatever they like to say, and so we're going to impose the rest of this pregnancy on you, says the state.
And I would disagree with those scenarios, and that's why I think that like we fight in order to have laws and
But
codify things into
but
laws. Yeah.
one opens up the other, right? If your liberal ethics board gets its way, then the conservative ethics board also gets its way because this child can't consent, right? Or they're saying that at the very least the child doesn't understand the full ramifications.
I think that the negative harm of the psychological impact of having an abortion is a lot different than dying from something that could kill them. So it's
I
like
agree with you, but like
I think is
still,
but that's the type of medical board that we would empower in order to be in these scenarios, in order to be at the state level and through
so no
governments.
conservatives allowed. Do we give them a test beforehand, a political test? No conservatives allowed.
Are anti-vaxxers, should they be allowed in the ACIP panels? Like, no, absolutely. Are you a biologist if you disagree with evolution? No. Like,
Okay,
there's some things that you are just not, you are not.
So okay, then do you think that we should have a religious test to say like or at the very least like maybe not even religious test like we could like put a document in front of them and say like hey like anyone who'd be considered for this would be like a person who like got a medical degree, right? Or some sort of relevant degree. And we would say you're going to rule specifically on the science, right? And not any outside influences, for instance, whatever religion you might believe in, right? So as long as the quote unquote science says it's fine, then it's okay. You would have them maybe all like sign that document.
I mean, that's what medical doctors do in order to they take the Hippocratic Oath in order to do no harm. I mean, they already do that, and if they don't, they disobey that, then we take away their licenses as a society. So we have that power already, and we should do that. I think that we actually don't wield it enough. Like we should have taken more people's medical degrees away, than their licenses away after COVID.
I hear you, and I know our politics align very well. However, right, it depends on what you call harm. Like if the harm is like if you honestly believe that like having an abortion like destroys a woman in some deep way, that like there I don't some BS study that says
Or
their
if you think they're just going to
psychologists
be condemned to hell, right?
that I mean that too certainly right. But even if you like had like a study right that said like well there's some sort of psychological harm for abortion, well that's harm and I don't want to do harm to her, right? This is otherwise healthy pregnancy, and she can have a healthy baby and she can survive the pregnancy. Well there's still harm if she has the abortion, right?
Well, that changed the thing so much because before it was a medically necessary procedure to have an abortion, and now it's like an elective abortion that doesn't need to happen. So now it's like two completely different scenarios.
I mean, I did. I presented you with two different scenarios. I did that before. Yeah.
But I'm just, I mean, like I mean, I call those like the Starbucks drive-through abortions. That like they don't exist. Like the idea that someone's coming in like third term, coming in and being like, oh,
not third term, second term, term or first term.
I mean, well, in my world, you'd have. I mean, I do think that abortion should be safe and legal at all terms. They have to be in order to save the life
Even
of the mother.
10 terms? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So it should be safe and legal for medical doctors in order to do this at all stages and all weeks, because sometimes it is necessary. But yeah, I mean the idea that like that would come up in this scenario where someone's perfectly healthy, there's no problems with them, they come in and they're like, I I want an abortion, and it's like, well, the doctor would look at that and be like, okay, well, we're not going to go through with this and just like extract the fetus, and terminate the pregnancy. We're so far along where we'll just do like a C-section or something like that. It's not like a medically necessary procedure at that stage. So that there already were and have been stages where people make this decision, make the right way, and it wasn't a problem before with Roe v. Wade. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, to be clear, I'm definitely closer to you on this than otherwise,
I
but
understand.
yeah,
You're just posing the ethics questions and stuff. I agree.
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand.
It's just that, like, I think we should all be, and this applies to everyone, right? Not just you, friend, but just to anyone. Is that we shouldn't be so cavalier about like saying that we can disrespect a person's bodily autonomy. That people can say they can make decisions about their bodies that we disagree with, and um, like maybe we should respect those decisions. Right now,
Abs-
again, like it's a bit different when we're talking about a vaccine. I hear you there because then we're like you're spreading a disease or something, right?
so this is the thing. So it's like
Yeah.
for something that only affects you, now it's like, okay, my own decision in order to like let's do a colonoscopy exam, right? Which is we just had that celeb die of for colorectal cancer, which is one of the top 5 ways that people die of cancer in the United States. Do we force colonoscopies on people? Like, well,
Mhm.
no. I mean, because it's just like it's your decision to get that exam done, and it's like what we should make it like freely available, that kind of thing. I mean, where you get into different scenarios with like abortion is because there's another potential life that could be coming from that, which is now it's like another bioethics question. And then, but now with vaccines, and why I think that your personal choice matters even less is just because of the communicable disease aspect of it. Like public health is so important. Public health is tied to your personal health for so many people, right? Like that have immune compromised people that were born with it genetically, that are on different types of medications, that kind of thing. So otherwise, if we don't preserve public health, it literally becomes a eugenics thing where you just create a society where only people with certain genetic conditions can live, and that's what we have to say no to, and we're protecting these people and creating a society where they're allowed to be there.
And just sort of out of curiosity, Prime, if you want to say, so as in like the brief case that I read out with the Jehovah's Witness and the 14-year-old girl, and like the justice pretty much like overriding essentially the wishes of the 14-year-old girl. Like, do you agree with the justice's decision, or you're understandably mixed?
I'm deeply mixed. I'm
I
deeply
understand.
mixed about it. Um,
Yeah, and
like
like even though I agree with it, I think you are raising good questions, right? Of like how this plays out in different scenarios will not necessarily be what I would agree with.
yeah, like uh, yeah, like Corey knows that like I've said for years that like I'm like a civil libertarian, right? And I want people to be able to freely do whatever they want with their bodies, even with like crazy things that I disagree with. It's your body; it should be your choice. Again, vaccines, are going to complicate things immensely. But pushing that aside for now, like I want people to have the freedom to do that, or to do what they want, right, or to not do what they want with their body, right, to deny an action as well. Um,
I mean, dude, I agree with you too. Like I am a left libertarian. But I don't think that we should strap people down and like pump vaccines like into them. But like
mhm.
if you're a parent and you don't vaccinate your kids, I think that you should like get a fine, or maybe
100% with the parents. That part, the parents
even
are
put
easy though.
jail. Honestly, if it keeps getting this bad, like I would be genuinely okay with jail time for not vaccinating your kids. Like
But
it's
that
gotten so insane.
but that part is easy, right? Like, and I think a lot of people agree with that. Like, hey, like they can understand the thought of negligence, right? It's
Hmm.
different when a person refuses care or wants a procedure that might otherwise harm them, one way or the other. Like, and to say I'm unsure. Like I like the in the case that Corey read, like, do I want this girl to die, to lose her life because of some BS religion? Absolutely not. Like I don't want to do that. But also, like, I do understand though, like the moment I say that yes, we can just override her wishes, then that means that in terms of other scenarios, what I would where I would want a woman to have a bodily autonomy, we can override that too, right? That we can just say like, oh, sure, like this person doesn't understand, right? And it's whatever governing authority is over them, they get to decide. See, they know better than this person. And I don't like opening that up either. So
So
yeah,
let me illuminate. So in my mind, what people are doing when they're not vaccinating their kids is that they're removing the bodily autonomy for people that can't get vaccinated, that don't have the
mhm,
genetic conditions, people that have cancer treatments, all that kind of stuff. They're removing their bodily autonomy.
I
So
agree.
that's where I think that it's like your individual liberty to, like, oh, I don't like traffic
But,
lights. Well, it's
but
like
That's why I
but
brought up the
again,
pregnancy example.
yeah,
So
vaccines are easy. I hear you on
like
or
it's
easy.
like I mean, red lights. Let's just say you don't like the red lights. I don't want to stop.
Mm.
I want to keep going at a red light. And it's like, well, if you're standing there and you're stopped and before you go into the intersection, why does it matter for you? And it's like, well, you're actually only in danger if I go through the intersection, if you're going through it too, so just don't go through the intersection. And it's like, well,
Um,
we can't do that. We can't, like, everyone has to like stop at some point to go through, right? So you're removing someone else's ability to go through the intersection by you just saying, I'm going to go through it without stopping.
So let me uh up the ante a bit.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm gonna I'm gonna really escalate. Then I'm gonna dial it back and see if there's any difference. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So one, let's go all the way. Right. Should a person be able to, and because we're on TikTok, I'll say the word unalive themselves. It annoys the hell out of me. But unalive themselves, right? Like with medical assistance, right? Like they do in Canada. They have medically
we do it
whatever
all
the term
over.
is.
I'm signing up next week.
Oh, like they're all over in Canada. Yeah. Are you in support of like medically assisted unaliving?
If there are like no possible treatments available and everything has been tried and it's been like consented to by that person and they're cognizant enough in order to say it, but so yeah, like, but in a scenario where you have no control to give someone control over that one last thing that they can, yes, I do agree with that. But I don't agree, which, and you're not, but yeah, and Canada doesn't purport to do this, just flippantly, like give someone the suicide pod or something. But but yeah, I do think that there should be some chances of doing that.
Okay. What about if um like and not in a quote unquote flippant manner, but like a person who doesn't have any sort of physical ailment, but because of some sort of mental status, they decide, right, after consulting with a psychologist and all that, right, going through some sort of process, that they'd like to end their lives. Would you be in support of that?
I just just the fact that people are going to die at some point shouldn't be the only reason why someone would want to end their life. So I like it would have to be some type of like terminal disease where you like the quality of life is no possibility of being better from in the future, and that
Canada's grappling with that question now because we haven't, but like, uh, we're like we're consistently debating of like whether we allow individuals with psychiatric diagnoses to seek medical assistance in unaliving themselves.
Mhm.
And that is a
Yeah,
contentious debate. And like, yeah, it's a good question.
yeah, but like, but what if the status of their psychological uh of their head, like
Nothing
is that like,
diagnosable.
yeah, nothing diagnosable, or maybe it is. Sorry, maybe it is diagnosable, right? They have some sort of deep diagnosable depression, right? And there's no reason to believe that that'll change. They already tried all like sort of psychological medication, and it doesn't help, right? Or the medicine gives some ungodly side effects to them that makes that unbearable to take as well, right? And so they decide they don't want to continue on. Like why? Just because it's not a physical ailment, shouldn't we take it just as seriously if the quality of life is miserable?
No, because there could be some chance of some type of like medical breakthrough or some new medication that didn't have those side effects, or the quality of life isn't only downward from here with
You
no
can say that for anything, any condition.
Yeah,
Then,
a cure can
no
just be around the corner for any condition.
yeah,
no
for anything,
no no
physical or otherwise.
no. Like someone with stage 4 cancer, like even in that stage, like even if it was like developed tomorrow, like some gene therapy that would like impact their life, there's like so many like organ failures, so many
Dr. Greg,
ways.
I hear you. I hear you. You're saying that like there's a ticking a clock ticking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. What if there's not a clock ticking? What if you have a physical? Now we're talking about physical, right? A
Mhm.
physical ailment that causes you immense pain, right? There is no cure, and you are going to be dealing with that immense pain forever, right? Like morphine can only do so much for you, but basically you're going to be miserable living with this pain like for decades, right? And they don't want to do it for decades.
I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, even Hutchinson's had a breakthrough recently where people who it was an inoperable disease that people are in constant pain from, and now there was like actually some hope for those people. So it does happen.
And you
Yeah,
would
but
say that, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
going to expand of like, but not every like, there are some like, uh, obviously I don't know what these experiences like, but based off of what I've heard of descriptions of like, let's say complex regional pain syndrome, like those appear to be like, almost like horrific levels of pain. That like, pretty much this, I think the scenario is like, think of like the absolute worst pain imaginable. That's like nonstop. Are you obliged to like just like live out your life and never call it quits? That seems, at least for me, to be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I mean it sounds
No
bad.
pun intended.
Yeah, I mean I don't again, unless it's like the curtains closing kind of thing, and there's no other hope. I don't that is it becomes very hard to like. I mean that it's hard to when you're not experiencing that pain yourself and you're telling someone just deal with it. I mean that is hard. Yeah.
Okay. So I turned it all the way up to 10. Now I'm going to dial it back to
No, keep going.
7.
11, 10, 12.
But hold on, but we'll see because it might be this also has other implications, right? So we're gonna down back to 7. Person's not dying, right? But they want a medical procedure, right? That's controversial. Now there are some people, and like you just have to believe me on this, or you can just Google it, right?
Mhm.
There are some people who have I guess let's just call it a fixation. Let's just put it kindly there. On dismemberment. Um, there are people who want to be to have like only one arm or only one leg. That's what they want. This exists. Google it. It's
Yeah.
weird. um, But so if they went to a surgeon and asked, right, for a procedure to like medically sever a leg, right, or surgically sever a leg, should they be allowed to do that? Because they have bodily autonomy.
I mean, I don't think so.
Why? They're doing it completely of quote unquote sound mind, right? And they can, and let's say they go to a doctor, multiple psychologists, and
I
say
mean,
this person is is sane,
you're
and
doing
wants this
harm.
procedure.
You're directly doing harm to that person. So that's why that medically that you wouldn't be okay with it. That that's why the people would lose their license because of it. Um, and it's like so. I mean, is the question like should so in this scenario someone would definitely just do it willy nilly, which would be more dangerous, causing more harm. So then your question is like, why can't this person just do this procedure in like a medical space?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, why shouldn't they be able to, like ask for a procedure if they are of someone again, like let's say they go through a process, like the same process before, getting uh, medically assisted unaliving. Um, like they go through that exact same process. They just for this, like, oh, I want to have my leg severed. Um, and they're like, yeah, this person is saying they're probably rationally, quote unquote, making a decision.
I mean, I I mean, I can see why we wouldn't allow this at the medical board level. I wouldn't. I don't. That there isn't any necessary element to it. So that's why I don't think that we should allow it.
Okay, and that's fine. And I won't fight you on this or anything. I'm just like trying to like gauge where we're at. All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now we're gonna introduce a little bit of science fiction to this. That's kind of taking this whole thing over. I do apologize, but
No,
like,
no, that's good.
yeah, a little science fiction into this. Okay, right?
Okay.
Same scenario. Person wants to have actually both their legs severed. Let's say at just above the knees, one and both gone. Right. However, in this future, now we have like amazing, fantastic, like cybernetic, like prosthetics,
C6, yeah,
and
yeah.
so like you could attach those, and they'll be better than their original legs. They're faster, or like whatever, like you kick
Mhm.
and do some like cool shit, right? Like, so in that case, should they be allowed to sever their legs, or should a surgeon be allowed to do that for them? I should say.
So I think in this scenario, you would have like the FDA approval or something like trials and research in order
All
to
that's done. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. So that then it's like makes more sense to say like it's okay, and to allow that. So then it's like, but yeah, I mean that is an interesting like question, I think, for sure. Um, but yeah, in this scenario, yeah, it would be. But I could see medical professionals still saying no, just because it does have like some resemblance of like what if the prosthesis isn't attached right, like given like a 1% failure rate, 10% failure rate, 50% failure rate of the prosthesis, like what would be the cut percentage that you would say that it would be okay?
The
um,
cutoff point, you mean?
yeah, 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 exactly. um yeah, I mean it's an interesting question. I mean, yeah, I think that is an interesting question, especially as
um,
we get into like more of that stuff being like more and more legal, or capable or possible. Like I think about that, um in terms of like gene therapy and stuff, like how much risk would I like be willing to take like personally, for stuff like that. And for me, like I would be willing to take those like risks, I think, like more so than other people, scientifically. Like I don't think that you should ever trust anyone any scientist with something that they wouldn't do to themselves. So, you know what I mean? Like I would believe in my experiments enough in order to do them myself if I was going to be performing
Well,
on
scientists have done that historically, right, to prove it, right?
exactly.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
So
But
like, I wouldn't ask that. I wouldn't ask.
one last question, and this is not futuristic. This has actually happened a few years in the past. So there was an individual, and you guys probably heard this story. Oh fuck, you actually probably heard how this story ended, which is pretty bad. But we're gonna try to ignore that for now. This person who he was a runner, but he had lost.
Oscar Pistorius.
Yeah, Oscar Pistorius. It's a sad ending to this. Super sad. But anyway,
Mhm.
he had somehow lost his legs. I don't know the story behind that. I don't remember. But in any case, he had these like attachments, right? They're not like cybernetics or whatever, right? But like these blade running things, right? That he was doing, and at the time, way back when, people were like really excited because he was trying to. I think I'm not sure if it was within the Olympics or with some other competition. I forget which one, right? If he actually like joined like the regular Olympics and rather than the Special Olympics, I forget what that situation was. But in any case, he was running against others who didn't have those prosthetics, right? And there was a fear that that would give him some level of advantage.
Yeah.
That like
Yeah.
yeah, like let some like spring in his step
Yeah.
or whatever, right? They give him some advantage. Anyway, he did poorly. And it didn't seem to be the case. Right? I think there were some investigations afterwards. It was like this probably isn't the case. He probably doesn't have an advantage. But let's say that he did,
Mhm.
right? Also, screw this guy. He killed his wife later on. Don't worry about that. But anyway, so let's say that he did, right? Just from the blades. So it's not like a super futuristic thing, but just like, with that future tech. Now, just for that reason, right? And these things are allowed in the Olympics. Just for that reason, a person wants to like sever their legs and get this attachment, right? Just
Mhm.
for running. That's all they care about. It's allowed, right? Like in terms of the competition. And so, should a surgeon specifically, Oscar lost his leg for other reasons, but
Yeah.
like, so the surgeon specifically give this procedure to a runner so they have a better chance at gold?
Yeah, I mean it's about a it would be a percentage game. Like how much is it possible?
Let's say assuming it was 100%, that like gets you on board
100%.
basically.
Yeah.
If it's 100% success rate and that person really wants that and that's what they want, then I think that I'm okay with it.
Really? I didn't think you would say that. That's interesting.
I mean, dude, I think that people that are professional athletes should be allowed to what we can do and repair their bodies through pharmacological means right now or anabolics, and we have that technology, and we should allow.
Okay, you want them all geared up with growth hormone and test.
Absolutely, if they need to, and they can repair their bodies, and they're a professional athlete, and they're putting their bodies on the line, then yeah, we should give them whatever technology we have in order to allow them to be a professional athlete.
Fair,
So
yeah,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
understand where you're coming from, but
And
then
they have like a percentage problem with it. But
yeah, but
I think
doesn't that
safer.
effectively just sort of turn it into, at least in my mind, I haven't done like the full analysis, but
Mhm.
like as technology advances and like as the scenarios that like Prime brought, this is essentially to like turn it into like NASCAR, for like the people that can pay for as much enhancement as possible are just going to get
Mhm.
like the edge. And is
But they
that
are.
like,
I mean that's the reality is that they
yeah,
already do.
that happens now to largely to some extent. I mean, it's not a surprise that most rich countries tend to do better in the
Mhm.
Olympics. But like I think whatever. Not that I care much about the spirit of the Olympics, but I think that further degrades the spirit of the Olympics.
I don't think so, man. I think that like having people at the Olympics that are there with their best self, I think that is the
What if they're
spirit.
just like on a head on a machine? Like, is that a human competition at that? I don't know.
Yeah, a head on a fully mechanized robot.
This is the unironically this is the difference between like F1 versus stock car racing. Stock car NASCAR is a stock car that you can't modify. F1 is open season, baby. Like whatever you want to engineer, you could like you
I
have
didn't know that was the difference, actually. Yeah,
yeah, you
I
have
didn't know
a
either.
amount of
I'm
the
ignorant
money
on these
you
things.
spend, like within like time air, through the wind tunnel and all that kind of stuff. But it's open engineering, baby, and people will have like a within the regulations have an epiphany on like how your wing could be, or have a new technology that they're coming through, and you can have like a literal engineering advantage that no other team has, and they're like looking at your car and they're like looking at the pit and they're like, whoa, what's in there, so it happens.
I think that's one of the reasons why I don't really, not that I watch sports all that much to begin with, or I essentially don't really watch anything. But like, I think it's one of the reasons why, of all the sports that I would watch, like NASCAR and all that, and racing, be like on the bottom, because like I don't see any value in it, or like I don't see like I not to downplay the amount of training and technical skill that it takes to do these things, but just like yeah, I think it's more like the machine that's doing the thing, or like at least that's how I process it. And so, like, if we get to the point of like just a human head on a machine, not that I'm super into watching the Olympics now, but I'd be even further less incentivized to watch the Olympics and just like
that's interesting.
You're like, there are some people that just have like genetic predispositions to have lower IGF-1 rates, so their HGH,
yeah, no,
their
like I'm constantly playing out this scenario of like when we get to full genetic engineering, like how that's going to play out in the Olympics.
If anything, by allowing people to have full pharmacological, chances of you actually normalize things. That's the idea. You actually normalize things, and everyone is actually at a standard where people can actually come at their best physical condition, and you don't have people that are like held back because of like some genetic predisposition in order to have like less, IGF-1 or something like that, or test or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super invested in like again upholding the Olympics, but like I do think something is lost if we get to the place of like whoever can just like genetically engineer their body the best and like has found the right stats to max out genetically, like that's just like the winner, or like
I mean, well, then it's like, okay, what genes are you born with? And that feels weird to me, that it's like you already have like your stats and your height and your that kind of thing, like your skeletal frame, so
Sure.
the idea of like you already have like that genetic lottery. Now you have your IGF-1 genetic lottery. Now you have your test genetic lottery, and it's like then it's just seems like kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, did you get dealt a good genetic hand? And I take your point, and that's where like if we get to the point of like you can just max out any genetic stat that you want, then like I can imagine, or I'd be more on board of like, okay, well, you can do the genetic engineering, but like these are the allowable, genetic modification that you can make.
Yeah, I think like allowing people to have dedicated their lives to something, to allow them to have their body like to be repaired, and allow them to like not have lingering issues, and allow them to like heal. If you have like an ACL injury, everyone gets mad about like these pharmacological methods, but it's like, bro, guys, there's a reason why ACL injuries in the NFL aren't career ending. Like, why do you think that's happening? They're not. Now it's like 6 months. Now people can come back within a season. Like, what do you guys think is happening? What do you think that we've like super grown ACLs now? We have like a good stretching routine. It's like, no, they're outside of the testing window, and they're going through, and they're being loaded up with whatever they need in order for their ACL to repair, and they're doing insane amounts of physical therapy, and they're doing insane amount of pharmacological growth abilities, and now they're able to like come back, and their running back is like able to come back and like actually do the career that we want them to do. So it's like we got to like allow these people to have that capability. Like the injuries are already going to happen. You know, it's already they're created within the function of the sport. So allowing people the chance to like heal from those injuries, I feel like is humane.
Um, so just going back a little bit, and we don't have to focus in on this, but just like I always want to give Corey his flowers because he uh like turned a situation in a way, like he presented it in a way that I never actually really considered. I'm not really much for NASCAR, but I think IndyCar racing is kind of fun to watch.
Nice.
Oh,
In Formula
loser.
One, yeah, sorry. uh, yeah, but I'm not a sports guy in general. But like I watch those. Actually, I was also watching. I was a Gran Turismo tournament, which was kind of more fun than I thought I was going to have watching that. That was kind of interesting. In any case, the point is, what Corey said about like, hey, like, like how is this as a sport when like the machine is doing all the work? Now, most people push back against it, saying that okay, well, like the human is piloting this machine, right? Like, and it takes their skill to pilot it so it can do the thing. And I would agree with that. However, right, but Corey also brought up the point of like, okay, what if it was just like a severed head on a mechanical, a fully mechanized robot, right? That would be the same thing, right? Well, it was like the human brain is like still skillfully piloting it. Let's say it's for boxing or for running or whatever, right? There's this human brain, it would be the same thing, right? Like the machine is doing all the work, right? And if there's any sort of friction pushing back against that, then there should be some friction pushing back against racing, right? Because the machine is the thing that's doing it. Um,
I mean, so I'm a huge F1 fan, so this is like I guess I'm like the so it's weird. I like UFC and I like F1, and like both of them are completely different engineering. Like F1 is like it's cool like watching racing because it's like it's the pinnacle of engineering in sport, you know, where you're right in that you get the a good car gets you really far, but I mean those cars are going so gnarly into the G's that you're basically it's like I'm pretty sure it's like I want to say it's like a rocket launch. Like they're doing like 6 G's in these corners. Like they are like on the the precipice of like where most people would be passing out, you know, and they're being pushed out. There was actually a race a couple years ago, and they basically it was so hot in these there's actually a lot of races in the Middle East now. It was so hot and they were losing like 10 pounds of water that the guys were literally passing out on when from the G's on these corners, and they'd be drifting off the track, and then they would hit the bumps and then they would come back. Like they'd be constantly doing this. So it's like they're on in a serious workout, like in order to like actually persevere through the pain of like of these G forces, and piloting them is literally you have to like train your body in order to stand that speed. So it's like or in other words, the car can go faster than the human can allow, and
the squishy human, yeah.
it's up to the driver to be able to withstand that. Like those cars are so fast that you could just spin them endlessly, right? They like you can't withstand the G's, you can't withstand the power, that kind of thing.
I'm just curious. Would you be opposed to when we get to the place of fully autonomous driving, like you have your AI assisted driver in the F1?
I mean, I thought maybe that'd be an interesting, like, you know, yeah, sure. I mean, that'd be
Do you
kind
think
of
that would like
interesting.
devalue it a little bit?
I wouldn't be opposed to like, I would want it to be different a little bit.
No,
Yeah,
no.
but yeah,
Screw the AI driver, right?
The
Like
autonomous one?
no. Yeah, screw the AI driver. I've just brought up Gran Turismo, right? That's a video game, right, where you do like this type of racing within it,
auto
right?
drive.
What if you could remote drive the car? Then
Yeah.
you get rid of the squishy person. It's still a person piloting it, right?
Yeah, fair.
But like, all the piloting happens from a safe location. They're not experiencing the
Or you're just wearing
G-force.
like a VR headset, right? And you're just
Yeah, they could go even faster.
car racing. This is what I used to do. This is what I used to do.
Yeah. Would you be in favor of that more? Like, I'm sorry, we're way off topic, and it's my fault.
I think this is a good topic, personally.
Yeah. Would you be, or Dr. Greg, would you think something would be lost, right? Because you just described like the training and how difficult it is for a person to be to handle this machine, right? Do you think that would cheapen the sport if they were like remotely piloted, and let's say somehow they could just like accurately do so like in a perfect way, like even though they're not actually in it, like the VR technology is so perfect that like it very much completely simulates the driving experience except for the harmful forces. So like would you think there's something lost but the person not being inside, not putting the body on the line?
It's just different. It's just like a different form of racing. I mean, like really, I used to RC car race, and that's remote control, car racing.
Yeah.
And I used to do this like all the time, and it's just different. I mean, there's different challenges. Then there would be different engineering that goes into that. There'd be ways of like designing the car that would be different because there's not someone in there. It would just the race would be different. It would be fun. It'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Like that
but
is design would just be different.
and obviously you can't fully know what you'll feel like because we don't have these experiences yet. But like, do you think your subjective experience of watching these types of different races would be different, as in like same level of excitement of like your standard as of now Formula One and like the scenario that Prime described? I don't know for sure, but I imagine like the excitement level would be decreased a little bit, knowing that the driver is just like whatever, not in the car, and they're just like remote controlling it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that being lessened. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think like knowing that there's someone in there that's really like pushing it and having to stay locked in and really having to, and it's like, I mean, it's so different that you can really good guys that really follow the sport. I mean, you could tell like you could put them in blank cars and you could tell someone's like driving style, just by that, and so it's F1 because the guys are so accurate in their stuff, like they're so precise. Every lap after lap after lap will be so similar. Like the F1's really cool. It gives you a lot of pages of data that you can watch. Like basically you can pull up this thing and you could see like how everyone's lap times are in the different sectors, and you could see where everyone is on the map and like all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of like analytical like data. It's very similar to like baseball in that everything can be tracked, every detail can really be looked at. So it's just really cool like that.
Fair enough. I guess maybe one last question to push just a little bit of, and I brought this up before on the Reverie when talking about robotics, of like when we get to fully autonomous robots. Do you think there's any like, do you think it would be any excitement of just like watching two robots fight, or like a whole soccer team filled of like just robots playing against each other? Do you think that would attract like the same enthusiasm for the sport of soccer? I'm asking you to speculate, but like
the greatest analogy that I could find there would be the chess models battling each other, and there are like brilliancies that the models have. They're playing thousands of games, and they'll have completely different strategies to the point where you can kind of like see like, whoa, this one's capable. Like one of the big breakthroughs that I forget which one it was. I think it was the Google model, but basically it was something like that. It was basically sacrificing pieces for positional control like way more than anything else, and it just kept like pushing it, which was. Yeah, it was like there was like something that you could actually see over the thousands of games, like, and people were analyzing it and stuff. So again, it's like a different, and it kind of like showed the grandmasters like something new in that fact. I this is something like years ago that I was covering, so the details aren't there right now, but again, like just like watching Magnus Carlsen is a lot different than like watching the chess bots go at it. It's just there's different levels of brilliancy that you can have, and I think that it'd still be there, but it's just different.
Well, actually, just to expand a little bit,
Sure.
from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, like pretty much, I think it's more or less understood now, like whatever AI that we have that plays is like it's better than any grandmaster, like pretty much.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And but like from what I understand, like human chess is like bigger than ever. At least that's this like as in like pretty much. Well, what despite the fact that the AI is better or whatever computer is better, like at the end of the day, people just want to watch two humans going at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes someone in my chat was like, watching a robot basketball game seems a little boring. That's where you're wrong. You wouldn't have robots flopping everywhere if they actually stood in there and actually, then it might be watchable. It's like, sorry.
Yeah,
I kid.
yeah. I mean, I think Dr. Greg, basically has got the correct answer. Is that like I think what you would have are like different leagues, right? Like you'd have robot league, but I think we still have the human league, just for the reasons Corey just brought up, right? People want to see like the human drama, like people going at it. There's something to that, that's like beyond like the actual mechanics of the game being played, right? But then in the robot league, right? Let's say like we have some like really some badass looking like Terminator bots, but like could actually
Just go back to battle bots back in whatever.
yeah. Oh my god, battle bots.
Yeah, exactly. I like imagine like in this hypothetical chatter scenario, you'd basically have like robot wars with basketball, so it'd be like them like going at it like a little bit more, they
It'd be interesting to see like what you could from the engineering perspective, like what would be the most effective way to create a team to do this, right? Or to let's say that they didn't even have to be humanoid, right? Like the battle bots, right? Like and you could just like seem to like watch. It'd be more for the ingenuity. How can we push these machines, right, to do incredible like feats, right? To like win the game. So like they would do. I guess it'd just be different stuff. But yeah.
I think like as humans, we're always gonna have like an affinity for human based things. I think like we'll have.
But
I mean, in some ways, like I think that like I think human driving is going to be banned within like the next 20 years on freeways, and I think that like we're going to be really done with that pretty quickly. I think it's like insurance companies are going to be the driver of that. I think like they're going to say like it's too expensive to fund these humans, and they're too dangerous at these speeds, so we're just going to ban human drivers on freeways, and that's going to be it. But like sporting wise, like the question of like what is a sport is kind of like an interesting question, but yeah, I think it's I think that there is something uniquely awesome, like interesting about like humans, that we have to think about. I guess in my mind, like I don't feel like I still feel like the pharmacological stuff to repair biological tissue is a little bit different than like because then the question would be like, okay, so if that's okay, would it be okay to have like a chip or something in your spine that just like genetically alters everyone to be exactly the same, and then everyone has the exact same pharmacological levels and all that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? You could think about some type of like biotech solution to that. Then would that be okay? Or so yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
I think the ethics of these things is always interesting. Like what's the name of the swimmer who got like so many medals? What was it? The
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps. Yeah, I don't know these people's names. But like
I don't watch sports. I swear.
You seem to be an expert. I remember because I thought this was like weird. It was like a weird thing, right? Like when Michael Phelps was like winning, but they did this whole special where they like analyzed his body, and it was very weird, very strange.
Like his wingspan and all that stuff, and
yeah, they like covered all the things that made him such a fantastic swimmer. But like, then is that fair if you have like these like like massive advantages. It's not simply that he was training harder. I'm sure he trained incredibly hard, of course, right? Don't want to take that away from him. But it's not simply that he trained harder, but like he literally had just an advantage in several ways that just like made him a better swimmer. That he was just kind of born with, and whether that's fair, should he be? And okay, this is a bit more interesting, right? On that note, there's that woman who was born with a strange a hormone of I forget her whole thing, castor or something.
Mhm.
Oh, I think I know who
But
you're talking about as well. Yeah.
of course you do,
An
because you're the
Olympian.
sports expert. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, she like a cis female, as far as I understand, or maybe I don't know, maybe something in between. But in any case, a female who has like elevated testosterone,
Mhm.
um, and like if that's natural, right? And people like kept thinking, oh, she's trans. She's definitely not trans at the very least.
Mhm.
But whatever reason she has elevated testosterone, well, that gave her advantage in sports, right? But then they were trying to ban her, and then specifically they were saying, oh, you have to take like testosterone blockers.
Mhm.
I believe that's how that case was trying to be
Yeah,
resolved. Like
yeah,
you
basically, you
got
have, like, yeah, you have a certain threshold that you're allowed to be at, which is like super small, like comparatively to an XY, the
But
genome.
should that be the case, right? Like
Um,
if she has XX chromosomes, then should
yeah, I
should we
mean,
limit her? If we
uh,
don't limit Michael Phelps, if we don't like somehow like hobble him, right? Then why should we hobble her?
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, the question would be like, why not let other people, um, if they could, you know, safely, and to protect their bodies for longevity and that kind of stuff. Other XX people to supplement with test or something like that. Like what would be the harm like in that? I think that would be the moral question.
Well,
And
so if we get to your world of like pretty much you can the athletes can do whatever they want,
yeah,
do you see any reason to have any sort of segregation in sports whatsoever?
I think that you should have like an open that there should be an open one. Like there should be something that is like an open class, and then have like I mean, there are like in so it really matters. Like professional sports, yes, I think so. Like you have an open class and then an XX, the class, and then for like high school level and down, I don't think that there should be the co-ed should be everywhere. I think that this problem actually is specifically the problem is basically because we have this intermingling of professional sports with college athletes, and that's kind of like the problem. You basically, in my opinion, college, like professional college sports, should not be allowed at colleges and universities, and you should only allow co-ed stuff. And basically, the the professional leagues should have their own minor leagues, and those should be outside of universities and colleges. This is very radical. I think that universities and colleges should be focused on learning. I know this is crazy, but having these professional leagues having their own minor leagues, and then basically the minor leagues and the major leagues of these professional sports, you basically just have them as a government. I think that you basically make sure that they're not discriminating against anyone. You shouldn't have the government sitting there like dictating, what is a 3-point line? Like how many feet is that? Like or like any
Does the
type.
government do that now?
Well, I mean, theoretically, like with like any type of hormones or
Oh,
anything,
okay.
you know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah,
Like that kind of thing. I mean, like the professional league should be set there and be its own thing. and then you should have co-ed, stuff at the college level and down, and that would then you'd have like non-discrimination clauses. Basically, the government should like be looking into these things to make sure you're not discriminating against people based off of immutable characteristics and that kind of thing. That would make more sense for me. But personally, yeah, I mean, you'd have like an open class, and then like women's sports, I think is something that exists because we created it, but we've never really seen this world that we are creating through pharmacological methods again, where like we don't really know what someone who's had like hormone blockers that never went that had arrested puberties, and then they were kind of like grown up into their chosen adulthood, like how do those groups like compare against their birth versus ideal gender? Like we don't know, like like we don't have like long-term studies against that. We don't, like right now, like obviously skeletal bone density, lung capacity, that kind of stuff is different, but like that's just because these people haven't been they've transitioned later in life. But like early and young years, if people do transition early enough, like we don't have those long term like justifications in order to say that they're so different that they have to be in their own thing. So I think that's probably what the future is going to be, where you have people deciding at a younger age to go down those paths, and like you don't really need to. Then the government would step in and say like, well, they have the same bone density, they have the same like skeletal muscular features as someone else, so now you are discriminating against them. Does that make sense?
I think so.
I don't know. I find these questions interesting. And I could go even deeper. Spending all this time debating, I've like been presented with all kinds of crazy scenarios. These are the things I'm presenting to you.
No, these are good scenarios. Like
And
these are things that I also constantly run in my head. Like that's why I swear. Like when we get to the place of like you can do anything to your body, like well, it doesn't make sense to me to have any sort of like real, at least even at the professional level. Like if a woman can just like, well, pretty much when we get to the place of putting your head on a robotic body, like then like yeah, I don't think there's any reason to separate.
Yeah. I mean, as you create and you give more freedom for people to like use pharmacological methods in order to kind of like be their best self, like I feel like there's a lot of things just kind of like open up, and you don't really have worries like with trans people in sports and that kind of
there
and
there
that's,
is a game, a set of games that is that specifically is for people who are enhancing. I think they're called enhanced games, something. I forget what they're called. Yeah, but they've created something like that. I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't been watching it. But I okay. Well, last thing, and I'll have to leave some because my headphones are gonna die on me.
Fair
But
enough. We've worn them out.
yeah. But again, on this question of harm, which is like how we started to like drift in here, is like if a person is doping, right,
Mhm.
using whatever steroids, something that like has a harmful side effect, to get an advantage like in sports, and again, let's say it's allowed within the rules. Would that should that be okay? Should a medical doctor be allowed to assist them in that? Right now, this is going to hurt their bodies eventually, right? But maybe the medical doctor could help them manage how, like like the side effects and and all that. Well, should that be allowed to like like steroids or other enhancements? Should doctors be involved with that?
So like I would say like whether or not a professional athlete has like done any type of pharmacological intervention, I would probably say like 75-80% have done it. It's whether or not they are competing while on it. That is the question.
No,
So,
no,
so
but in this case, like there are like the competition allows for them to do so,
yeah.
right? And like okay, like looking at professional wrestling, this is a big thing. People died over this. With like the steroid use that was happening, and Vince McMahon didn't seem to give a damn about that. Um, and let's say that this is known, right? Like they didn't talk about this, but let's say this is known. It's explicitly allowed. You can take these things, right? And then at that point, right, to win, there is an incentive to keep taking these things, right? To take more steroids rather than less steroids. Should that be allowed? I mean, considering that like there are going to be people who are going to just keep upping the ante to, and maybe a whole list of enhancements, right, to get just a little bit faster. But like that, like encourages others to keep doing the same, and you have this downward spiral. Would you say this would be okay? Because they're all making the choice themselves.
I mean, there's definitely too much, and we're a point where you have absolutely bad medical, health outcomes and sports outcomes. Absolutely. By allowing it, you basically create a scenario where people can like use medical professionals more accurately and allow people to get the help that they need as they need it versus like trying to manage their own care, which only puts them into like more of a problem. And those,
But once we allow like steroids at all, right? Then like what is the limit that we would place? Like once you like say that oh you can do this within the context of the game, then
Mhm.
what limits would there be?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I mean I think that you have kind of like using like kind of like an FDA guidelines, like what is safe and effective, and what we allow, what we would allow. I think that there would have to be like some type of like I guess there would be some type of like banned list to just be at some point, just because it's like if something was like 99% risk and 1% benefit, and then you can't just be going through lives in order to allow that one person to become the champion. Or you know what I mean? So it's like, but at the same time, like what the stuff that we're talking about is like 99% safe if done medically, like well, so it's like it is it's way on the side of the athlete doing it, and they already do it too. That's the other part, is that they already do it.
I'm curious how this is more or less me thinking on the fly. I'm curious how this intersects with, let's say, football, American football, to
Mhm.
be exact. And I'm definitely, I'm well, I don't think I've ever watched a full game of football. Okay, but so I'm largely ignorant on overall like the rules of the sport. But I know roughly how it's played in terms of bodies hitting each other. Uh,
You slap the ball with a stick and
yeah,
it goes
exactly.
into the net. Yeah.
Goes
Yeah,
all on
exactly.
ice too. That's a Canadian
Almost.
American football. But like so as humans maximize their performance, and let's say now it's more in your world of like athletes are stronger, they're bigger, they're faster. Like if the rates of CTE skyrocket in American football, which I think they're already, well, I think whatever, any percentage is bad, but I'd say already not that great. If it's like now if it's more or less like it's in the direction of like, I don't know, 30-40% of like retiring football players end up with CTE. Is that like a cost that you would be, and I don't expect you to have a definitive answer, but like, is that something that like would be permissible to you, or like there's a limit of like, oh, there's maybe too many negative effects of this?
I think you try to minimize it as much as you can. Like, I mean, but at the same time, it's like a risk of doing business. Like in jujitsu, like there's a really good chance that I'm gonna blow my knee or my elbow out at some point, and it's just like
Well,
the
I think it's
cost
a
of
little bit different than CTE. To be not that I'm an expert on it, but
no, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't want any CTE problems, like you wouldn't go into football. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's kind of like what it is. There are interesting like cases of like removing shoulder pads and removing helmets that actually downplays the way that people can use their head. So
Yeah.
you like more of like a rugby style tackle. So you're not spearing and you're not leading with your head,
It's
which
it's like it's like boxing, right? When you add the gloves, people punch harder because they don't have to worry about their hands, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
It's a
exactly. So
false sense of safety type of thing. Like, oh, I can go
yeah,
even
yeah.
harder.
I mean that's how I would probably go about it. Um, but yeah, they're one of the things. One of the articles that was in the list is like they're actually trying to create a new football helmet in order to decrease the directional torsion that is causing a lot of like subconcussive CTEs. So it is like technologically it might be like possible to diminish some of this stuff, um but yeah, I mean I think you're I think like if it was all enhanced and you had more people like having more injuries because of that, yeah, I think that you would have. I don't know, it's tough, man. I think that still has to be. I think that's just going to be what it is. The UFC notoriously kind of like went through this stage, um, where everyone was on TRT and then everyone was off TRT. You could tell that USADA was banned, and then they came on and everyone was off of it. And I don't know about the knockout. That's actually an interesting like case study. I wonder if there was like more or less traumatic brain injuries that are associated with it, or knockouts specifically. I don't know. That would actually be the use case that would be interesting to study. I don't know.
Okay. Well, one last thing, because I know Primer's to go. I'm gonna turn it up to 10 or 11. I'll like, because it seems like like your guiding principles, like if they're aware of the risks, then sort of like let them have at it, and try to maximize safety as much as possible.
Yeah.
Would you be okay if like we get to the place of like full on gladiators, of like just a fight to the death? Is that
I mean, I like UFC because of that, like where it's like no technology. The only technology that exists are like the gloves, and the gloves suck, by the way, and they need to be redo those gloves. Um, but I do like that. I think that there is like something like barbaric and in that violence, and that's one of the reasons why I like to watch it. I don't know. But at the same time, like there's refs in there to try to help people.
no, no,
Just like
but I brought up gladiators as in like actual gladiators, like
yeah, yeah. Well,
is
I
like
mean, like, like consenting to duel to the death, like
yeah,
consenting, I'm gonna die here for 100% sure.
yeah. Only one person's walking out of the ring or whatever it is, the Colosseum. Do we want to resurrect that, or would you want to resurrect that, or if you're mixed? I don't expect you to have a definitive answer, but I'm curious.
I mean, I do. The UFC started out with no referees, and this is kind of like it. Kind of like started out with this like mentality, and basically there was like
Yeah, but to make it palatable, they had to start
yeah,
having
yeah,
some
yeah,
rules.
exactly. People like basically wouldn't want to sign up for it, and they wouldn't want to. That like the coaches are like, well, we obviously lost it, so can we just like throw in the towel? And they had some scenarios where it's like, okay, now we're just resigning. So there would be scenarios where people still would say like, before you kill my guy, like we resign. So, um, but I don't know. I mean, this is a good question. I mean, I've thought about this a lot actually with like reality television shows and stuff like that. Especially like like when would this be the first? Like when would be the first person to be like done like on TV for that? And I mean, you can't like sign your life away to someone. Like if like for people have this with cannibalism, actually these cases, like people will say like, no, I actually want Steve, like I really like Steve, like this is I'm ending my life and this is my body is his, like this is what it is. And we've banned that. We do not allow that to happen. So I think like there's some contracts that you shouldn't allow in a society. Like you can't be someone's slave. You can't just be like, I'm gonna be like that. This is it. This is the contract that we're entering into. Um, So I think that that's okay to ban. I think you have to, like, in society, obviously, like, have to. So it's, um, yeah, I think, but I think, but again, like, I think, like, we should have UFC. I think, like, we should have, um, I think it's okay to like embrace that kind of stuff. I think that we should have duels be allowed, like, in society. I think like people should be able to allow to be like, hey, I consent to this scrap. This guy's consents to this scrap. Okay, let's like slug it out. I think genuinely, like, having it would be way better of us, especially in the United States, which is so, like, gun centric. If we just said, like, hey, let's just, fisticuffs this for the next 2 minutes, as opposed to, like, having to resort to weapons. And I think that that's kind of like, I think that's way more cowardly. So it'd probably be better to have that off ramp, that off, that steam let off valve in our society. But I don't know if I would glorify it by making it a sport to where people, like, end their lives purposefully.
Fair enough. I'm against gladiators, and I never want to get to society that you have an audience that wants to watch someone die personally. But that's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
But at UFC, like, you're definitely rooting for someone to, like, get knocked out, like, which is
I'm not.
Yeah.
no, I'm saying people are, like, people are
I
definitely
know people.
they're
I'm not saying
watching.
that that's a good thing, but
Yeah, yeah,
and I know I might be just judgmental, but like I think that says something.
yeah. I think, like, it's just
So
it's a go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, my headphones just gone went, and I literally can't hear you. So I'm going to just make my response, my exit. Hey everyone, thanks for coming through. This was a lot of fun. Shout out to Dr. Greg and to Corey, and for Dr. Greg being a good sport as I like rack them with questions. But I think these things are interesting. By the way, this is these questions are just like really fascinating. You get in the weeds and what is allowed, especially when it comes to things that are politically sensitive.
Mhm.
Like getting a blood transfusion by the majority of people is not a politically sensitive topic, right? Well, of course you would do so, right? But then doing that over a person's wishes, it's like, well, of course they don't know what they're talking about. But then once you open that up, it's like, okay, well, what about an abortion? And people have very big differences in that thinking of that, even though that's also just another medical procedure, right? Because we have these things become politicized. They take on bigger meanings within our culture. And so it's just like I want everyone always to be thinking about these, right? And always be skeptical. Like my positions on this, I can tell you, have like shifted quite a bit, right? And even now, I'm still I don't have a solid answer, so it's very tough. But I'm glad Dr. Greg was so kind enough to entertain my questions, and have a lot of fun. Shout out to my friend Corey. I might as well take this off because I literally can't hear anything. Any which way, thanks all for coming through. Um, Follow me on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick at Prime Kai, PrimeCays. Also TikTok, you can do so as well. Yeah, much appreciated. And yeah, I'll stop and I'll like let Corey go, and I'll watch him move his mouth. And when he's done, then I'll leave.
Yeah. So as always, this was great, and like even though we have our plan, but we deviated from our plan, but I think these are great deviations because like and this is like great conversations, and even getting to the philosophical weeds is great. And I'm always up for that. But yeah, you can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's
Nice.
Corey Campbell. And like, yeah, always a pleasure. And that's it for me.
Follow them. Follow them. They're all right here, please. Like, all send them a follow, please. Thank you for coming on, guys. I appreciate you, Prime and Corey, as always. The conversation's always so
Take care.
fun.
Be well.
You guys. All
Bye.
Okay. Actually, Buckle, I was a little bit weirded out watching The Rock act, and so far attempting to be dramatic. Although so far it's pretty good performance. I do plan to actually finish the movie. But yeah, but it's more like since I started it, I'm going to finish it. I wasn't really all that like I was mildly entertained by what I saw so far. I like cut it off halfway because like yeah, I wasn't super into it. Uh oh, yes, good reference. Just a salute. But yeah, thank you, Balkle, for passing by. And Deflux Streams, and anybody else that I forgot. We missed last week because unfortunately I fell ill briefly. Something that I ate definitely did not agree with me, but I recovered within 24, 48 hours. And so should be back to a regular schedule, streams on Friday at this time. So should be back next week. Thank you, anybody, for tuning in. And until next week, take care and be well.